Theatre to a very, very special evening with Inspector Murder. We're broadcasting here live from the Limelight Theatre at Queen's Park Arts Centre for a very special show where we're going to be telling you the story of one of our beloved characters from Unbound. We'll be performing some readings from some classic sketch shows featuring the Inspector from our archive, which haven't been seen or heard of since they were first performed. And we'll also be debuting a brand new episode of our sleuthing sitcom, Inspector Murder Inspects. My name is Erica Sanderson, and I will be your host this evening, as well as appearing in some of the scripts. And joining me tonight are...
Hello, I'm Alistair Sanderson, no relation, and I have the privilege to play the haphazard inspector himself.
Hi, I'm Emily Pugh. I'll be playing Law and Order and messing about in a few of the other sketches. And I do also want to say happy birthday to Jade, who's watching today.
Happy birthday!
Yay!
I'm Jo Pratt. I play Constant Surveillance, a very balanced and respectable member of the community, and one or two other weirdos from other sketches.
I'm Andy Faber, and I am playing Luke Vercluse.
Hello, I'm Stephanie, and I played a variety of characters in Series 1, including Molly.
Hi, I'm Gareth Johnson. I assist Dario with the writing of some of this, and I also play a variety of supporting characters, and you'll hear me in some brilliant supporting characters throughout the sketches and episodes tonight.
And some great sound effects too.
Oh, yes.
And I'm Dario Knight. I'm the co-creator and writer of the series.
Right, well, we're going to be diving in with one of the very first sketches in which the Inspector appeared. This was originally performed as part of the Unbound Sketchbook's debut show, Transcendental Mongoose, in 2016. And the title of this goes by Murder Alley.
We hear corny horror movie organ music.
There seemed nothing altogether peculiar about that night as I walked toward number 666, horrifyingly gruesome murder alley. But even as I knocked upon the door, I couldn't help but feel there was an ugly disturbance waiting for me inside.
The door opens.
Who are you calling ugly?
Oh, it wasn't me. It was the voiceover.
Oh. Can I help?
My name is Inspector Murder, and I'm here to inspect a murder.
Dun dun dun!
Come again?
I'm here to see the body.
Dun dun dun!
Ignore that. It's just the man next door, up out all hours of the night hammering away on his organ. Anyway, what body?
Oh, the one that's been murdered.
There hasn't been a murder. We're having a dinner party.
Oh, but I mean, I was told there was a murder. This is 666 horrifyingly gruesome murder alley, isn't it?
Yes?
Well, then I'm here to see the body.
What body? Who said there was a body?
The script.
Oh, I see. Well, there hasn't been a murder.
Listen, there has been a murder.
No, there hasn't been.
Smooth start. Apologies, everyone. Inspector Murder strikes again. Yes, there has.
No, there hasn't.
A gunshot.
Now there's been a murder.
Right. Well then, I'm here to see the body.
Certainly, come on in.
We hear more corny horror movie organ music.
Oi, Arthur, give it a rest, will you?
End of sketch.
And so in between these, we'll be sort of chatting about some of the behind-the-scenes creation behind Inspector Murder. So, Dario, how did the Inspector end up in the first sketchbook show, and what were the beginnings of the character?
I wish there was a really sort of insightful, fascinating, witty anecdote other than it just popped into my head. So when we talked about other characters on these podcasts, we talked about Professor Konomiya. There's this whole long creative series of cause and effect that lead to the character, and
That's
honestly,
I won't shut up talking about it.
Yeah, genuinely, the idea of a detective who turns up to inspect a murder that's not happened yet, it was just that I can't remember the thought process at all. It was just there. And then if you're writing that story, I suppose inevitably there's going to be a line of dialogue along the lines of, my name's Detective so-and-so and I'm here to investigate a murder. And if you've got one ear on wordplay, then Inspector Murder, inspecting a murder is it's a good bouncy phrase. And that is the boring story. How he came in the sketch show, I mean, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I wrote that when I was 17. So he's been around for about, more years than I care to remember. Over a decade. And then,
looking well.
Yeah, he's looking very well, yeah. Took 9 years to do anything with him. And then I think it was Gareth, you and Matt were putting together the first sketch show, and I think I think Matt asked if I had any material, which I didn't at the time. So I dug that one out of the sort of the hard drive, and then away it went. Who knew where it would lead?
Nice. That's very tricky. Well, the following year after 2016, the characters returned for the sketchbook second show, which was Farmers vs. Pirates, and this time became a recurring character in several sketches through the sketchbook. And we're going to be performing all three of them, starting with The Witness, which was written by Gareth.
Right then, let's get down to business. My name is Inspector Murder, and I'm here to inspect a murder.
Dun dun dun!
Yes, I will be aided in this task by my assistant, Luc Vercluse.
Evening.
Yeah. Luc, that's a very French-sounding name you have there.
Yes, it is, sir. Indeed it is.
Yes, it is, and yet you do not seem to have a hilariously comedy French accent.
No, sir. No, I do not. My parents were French, and I was named by them. But they both tragically died in a non-specific accident when I was sent to live with my estranged uncle in Wales.
And yet you do not seem to have a hilariously comedy Welsh accent.
That is quite correct, sir. As my estranged uncle tragically died at the shock of having a small child turn up out of the blue asking to live with them. And so I was taken in by my adoptive parents, the Giovanni family.
Right, yes. And what accent did they speak with exactly?
That's not important.
Yes. You know, I'm starting to think that your lack of a comedy French accent has less to do with a tragic and convoluted backstory and more to do with the fact that you cannot do a hilariously comedy French accent.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Yes, and that although we have many people in the cast capable of doing a very good French accent, you're such a prima donna that you insisted on playing the part of Luke anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yes. Well, anyway, we should get on with solving the murder.
Right, well,
The inspector stops him and waits.
Dun dun dun!
Do carry on, Luke.
right. Well, I was just saying, we should probably interview Miss Taken. She's a witness.
Who's mistaken?
Well, not me, I hope. She's definitely a witness. She saw the, murder.
Yes. She saw the murder?
Dun dun dun!
Yes, she saw the murder. Come on, where's my sound effect?
Luke makes an obscene hand gesture at the sound desk.
I understand you wanted to talk to me, Inspector?
That's correct, miss.
I suppose it's about the murder.
Dun dun dun!
Oh, come on.
Well, as it happens, I overheard Victor Timothy.
Poor victim.
Quite. I overheard him having a rather strange conversation shortly before he died.
Oh, what did he say?
He said,
There's a gunshot. Susan falls, but the inspector does not notice.
I think I've been murdered!
Oh, well, I mean, I know that's what he probably said after being murdered, yeah. But what did he say before being murdered?
I've been shot!
No, the victim was stabbed, not shot.
Help me!
So wait, he said, "Help me." Was it before or after he was stabbed?
I'm dying.
Oh, so he was dying, eh? Well, maybe it was a mercy killing.
I feel like we're missing something here, sir.
Yeah. Oh, wait a second. Susan?
He finally sees her on the floor.
Susan! She's been killed!
Dun dun dun!
Sorry, she'd been murdered!
Dun dun dun! Will Inspector Murder catch the killer before he kills another witness? Will Luke for clues eventually flip and punch the sound technician? Will these characters turn up again at another point in the show? Find out the answer to some, all, or none of these questions in the next mildly diverting adventure of Inspector Murder.
So, Gareth and Dario. Whose fault was it? Whose idea was it for the inspector to return for the second sketchbook, Farmers vs. Pirates? And why make him a recurring character in the show itself?
I seem to remember being asked if it was okay for him to come back.
Well,
I think.
I think when we were sort of reviewing the first show and sort of starting to put the second one together, there was a big discussion about sort of whether it wants to be themed or whether we want to build a
Yes, there's
a
going to be a plot.
linking thing to it. And I know there was a point where we were going to try and have Inspector Murder pervade throughout the entirety of the sketch show. So every sketch was going to have a small cameo from Inspector Murder at one point. And then by the end, it all sort of came to this apex where, while the sketch show was going on, Inspector Murder was inspecting a murder at the same time. But then we found that we had so many good sketches that you couldn't link together that we went with the other format. But I think it was sort of starting with that idea, and I think we put a call out to the writers actually saying, can you come up with anything to use Inspector Murder? And we came back with these 3 brilliant sketches for the second show. But yeah, the idea of the actual linking, overarching plot never materialised.
We tried it a few times with sketch shows. There was going to be one, because there's a recurring character in the sketchbook called Eric,
Yes.
who, as a running gag,
Eric.
gets killed off in the opening monologue. Somehow off stage, he's died before the show began. And we sort of said it'd be quite funny to do a show where you see him finally, and then he drops dead, and the entire rest of the show is the team trying to hide the body. And so you'd be in the middle of a sketch, and then John North would come on with a wheelbarrow with someone in it, just sort of, oh, sorry. So the way we've talked about it a lot, and then we've just never gotten around to actually writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was one of those. It was going to be a whole murder mystery that then got solved at the end.
Now, Gareth, you said that you put a call out to other writers to produce sketches for you. And our next sketch is also from Farmers vs Pirates. It's called Intrusive Narrator, and this was written by Brian Murray.
So we have Inspector Murder and Luke Vaucluse frozen mid-pose on stage.
This week's thrilling episode of Inspector Murder is called The Spare Room of Doom.
The Inspector and Luke unfreeze.
Right, now Luke, we have...
In which they are called to inspect a grisly murder at Snotbury Manor.
Annoyed, the Inspector pauses, waits, then opens his mouth to speak, but...
Will they solve the mystery of The Spare Room of Doom?
Good. Right, now. Yeah, look, we've been invited
Will
to...
they survive their grueling ordeal? How will they face their toughest challenge yet? Will things ever be the same?
Luke,
After they have shared their first kiss.
The Inspector and Luke look shocked until Luke's expression melts into sly expectation. The Inspector double takes.
Wait! Wait!
All this will be revealed in The Spare Room of Doom.
The Inspector and Luke are about to give up.
Surely it can't be Lord Snotbury. His PTSD means he could never fire a gun.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Spoilers.
And the maid's anorexia means that she can hardly lift a heavy firearm, making such a shot at that distance nigh on impossible.
The Inspector frantically signals timeout.
None of this is for a humble narrator to reveal. The only way you can find out the answer to the questions around tonight's mystery is by watching The Spare Room of Doom.
Right. Now, Luke. Yeah, we've been invited to Snotbury
Oh,
Manor.
right, it was the butler.
And we are going to move on now to the epic sketch, which is known as The Reveal, which features pretty much everyone.
Biggest sketch ever.
So, we have the sitting room of a country house. Inspector Murder and Luke Vaucluse are surrounded by suspects.
Well then, here we are, yes. Now, the suspects are gathered, and at last we shall unmask the murderer of poor Victor Timothy.
Poor victim.
Yes, quite. Vaucluse, quite.
I'm afraid the need for all this theatricality is lost on me, Inspector.
Yes, I mean, I know you've a rotten curve to bang to rights, but why must we all be summoned here?
Yes, you could just come out with it.
It is necessary, Lady Dum.
Da-da-dum.
Yes, pack it in. Yeah, it is necessary because, well, I say it is, yeah. These little gatherings give me a chance to, well...
Show off.
Yes. No, I mean, a little, yeah. They allow me to whittle the suspects down one by one and finger the culprit.
You're better than that.
Right. Sorry. It shall be dramatic, shocking,
He leans towards Miss Leading's ear.
and a little bit sexy.
It's really not.
Right. Yeah. And so we have our suspects.
He consults his notebook.
Right. You, Miss Leading, claim to have been in your bed when Victor Timothy was killed. Yeah. But Captain Obvious over there says he came across you in the orangery.
I wonder where that stain came from all of a sudden.
And you, Sheffield, were in the kitchen, I believe.
That I was, and what of it?
But no one can corroborate your story. Yes, most peculiar, eh? Who next, the clues?
Farther away.
Sorry.
He takes a step back.
Who next, the clues?
No, farther away. The vicar.
I was in my room saying my prayers at my bedside.
I can vouch for that, Inspector. I was winding the gramophone in my room at the time. I distinctly heard the words, "Oh God," coming from Father Away's room across the hall.
Oh, thank you, Lady Dida. Thank you.
That leaves us with the good doctor.
Oh, yes. Dr. Ed Evidence.
He checks his notebook.
Now, you were in the grounds?
Taking a late night walk.
We found the doctor's footprints outside, sir. He's in the clear.
Yeah, but how do we know Dr. Evidence didn't doctor the evidence here to mislead us, just like misleading? And you look for clues, but you play the role of Captain Obvious until you're further away from the truth than Sheffield is to Lake Titicaca. Hey, Lady Dada?
I don't follow.
Oh, well, it matters not. Lady, you mentioned your gramophone.
Yes.
Do you all have gramophones in your quarters?
Yes.
No wonder they're all up so uptight.
Of course.
Would anyone like a mint?
He takes a packet from his pocket but drops one on the floor.
Oh, where's that gone?
He gets on his hands and knees and searches the floor.
What are you getting at, Inspector?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Oh, God.
Yes, the gramophone is the means.
To murder?
Farther away, kneels before the sofa, trying to reach underneath.
To mask a murder. You heard noises coming from farther away's room, lady. I put it to you, those noises were a recording played on a gramophone to make it appear as though the culprit was in their room.
We hear a whoosh and the lights go off and then on again.
How peculiar. Yeah. Anyway, the gramophone recording made it appear the culprit was in their room when really they were shooting Victor Timothy.
You don't mean...
Yes, the murderer is farther away.
I thought it was one of this lot. Are we in the wrong house?
Not further, farther.
He points at farther away.
He did it.
Farther away remains crouched by the sofa.
Get up, father. It's over. Stand up, father. Father.
Farther away keels over.
He's dead.
Good God!
I need a brandy.
He pours himself a drink.
Ow.
A blow dart, sir.
So it wasn't him then?
No, of course. That was what I was supposed to think, you see, yes. I was just about to say that after carefully studying the layout of the East Wing, the solution is obvious. Yeah, the room belonging to farther away was much farther away from the others. There's no way his prayers could have been heard by anyone else. It was a lie. Therefore, it becomes clear that the murderer is you, lady. Da-da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum.
Da-da-dum.
Thank you.
The lights go out.
I see. Who turned out the lights?
We hear another whoosh and a thud.
I'll get them.
The lights come back on. Lady Dada-Dum is on the floor, smothered in rope.
Oh, lady. Da-da-da-dum. Yeah.
Da-da-dum.
Lady Da-da-da-dum's dead. I'm running low on suspects. The doctor had evidence.
The doctor is sipping his drink. He gulps and begins to splutter.
He's choking.
Quick, man, save here!
Inspector Murder tries to minister the Heimlich manoeuvre. There's a gunshot at the exact moment the doctor coughs and the doctor slumps from the inspector's grasp.
He's dead!
I mean, I barely touched him. It seems the esteemed Dr. Heimlich underestimated the power of his patented manoeuvre. Yeah, wait. Oh, of course. The murderer is...
It's not Dr. Heinlich. He's been shot.
Has he? I mean, it wasn't in the paper. Oh, for goodness sake, not a light gone out in the world. Oh, look, can people please just stop dying, for Christ's sake?
He thumps a table at the same time there's a whoosh and Captain Obvious collapses.
Captain?
Luke inspects the body.
Dead.
I know he had a heart condition, but I mean, he was only a light thump.
Another poison dart.
Okay, I may be in over my head here.
Sheffield, would you please call Scotland Yard and ask for backup?
Of course, sir.
She exits through the curtains. There's a sound of a wet thump.
No, wait, of course. Yeah, poison. It was the cook. Sheffield did it.
He pulls back the curtains and Sheffield drops into the room dead, a dagger in her back.
Maybe not.
Then there's only one suspect left.
What? No, you got it wrong.
No, it can't be. We were meant to end up together.
What?
Two beautiful singletons, little past their prime.
What?
Thrown together in a bloody night of cold murder, yeah, or a cold night of bloody murder. I forget which.
Look, I didn't do it, but I'll confess to anything you like if you just keep him away from me.
I was sure it was one of the others. I mean, there must be an answer. But perhaps Lady Da-da-da-dum?
Da-da-dum!
Ah, of course.
Sir?
Inspector Murder beckons Luke and Miss Leading aside.
I've got it. I mean, really got it this time. Oh, this devil is a clever fiend.
Who?
It was the Sound Man.
What?
Yeah, well, I mean, only he had the means to do it. Every murder occurred amidst a comedic sound effect to mask the gunshots, stabbings, blow darts and rope-based smotherings. The timing had to be razor sharp, but it's their only answer.
During his speech, the barrel of a rifle slowly appears over the side of the sound desk gantry.
There he is!
Luke runs off.
Misleading!
The lights go off, there's a gunshot and they come back up again. Inspector Murder has been shot. He lays in Miss Leading's arms.
You saved my life, Inspector.
Miss Leading, I always knew I'd end up in your arms. It was fate.
Try not to speak.
It saved my last breath, you mean?
No, you're just making me nauseous.
Enter Luke, escorting a man in theatre blacks.
Got him, sir.
Excellent work for clues. You'll make a fine inspector now I'm out of action.
Inspector? You mean it, sir? You're not misleading?
No, she's misleading. I'm Inspector Murder. I'll take it back for clues. You're fucking useless. Oh, it's getting cold. So long, my darling. Look after her for clues and the others. Brave Captain Obvious, that boffin Doctor in Evidence, and Sheffield, Lady.
Da-da-dum.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? We've got the sound man here.
They look at each other.
Are you sure he's the sound man?
He was stood next to the sound desk.
I was doing the tea.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, shit.
The lights go off and there's 4 gunshots.
Warren could not have done it better. And that was the last sketch of the character before the Inspector got his own spin-off sitcom. Ooh. Now, the original recordings of that are quite different to the series that went out last year, if anyone has been listening to those. So how did the sitcom version of the character come about, and how is it different from the recordings? writers, Mr. Gareth and Mr. Dario?
I think it was that sketch that kind of gave us the idea. I'd slightly shudder reading that one back now because the jokes are, I think, very forced. But there was, having written it and seen it performed, there was a clear notion that those two characters could work really well in a long form format. I mean, that very nearly is a long form format. It's longer than a sketch has a right to be. And we'd always had an idea of doing more audio. It was very early days of Unbound doing audio, and it seemed that they were, again, if an idea strikes you, you listen to it and go with it, and it thought, actually, the core of the character is in that sketch, which is that he's trying to be, in that case, Poirot. It's more of an Agatha Christie style, but he's not doing it very well. And most sitcoms, almost every sitcom character has a basic conflict in that there's something they want to be. They're trying to be something, but they're continually failing, and every episode is about them aspiring and failing. And that's the perfect launch pad for a character to go into a series. So it was from that we extrapolated. We turned it into Sherlock Holmes rather than Agatha Christie, mainly because Sherlock Holmes, you haven't got to pay anyone. It's always a bonus. And it seemed, I mean, he's in every different time frame, in every different sketch. We never agreed any sort of an agreed continuity. So we gave him his own continuity, that he's trying to be like Sherlock Holmes. And if you had another character who was at the same time that Sherlock lived in London, who was constantly getting all the cases that Holmes can't be bothered with and doesn't want to deal with, and is having to do them anyway for the sake of his pride, that's the good premise. So we developed it from there, really. And I suppose in a way it parallels Holmes. We made Luke more of a kind of, actually he's more Q from James Bond, isn't he? It's the idea that if you had an inventor, you've got a fantastic premise. Every week there's a different invention, which is either something useful for the plot, which is handy, or it's just a funny scene. So we then gave him a Dr. Watson, who became Law and Order, and that was mainly because I didn't want to do a series that had 3 male characters in the lead. We wanted to make it a bit more interesting than that. So Laura came along as the kind of Dr. Watson, because you need someone to hold order in this sense. And then I suppose extrapolating parallels with Holmes, Holmes has his housekeeper, is Mrs. Hudson, who is a very unobtrusive figure in the Holmes story. So you flip that on the head and you give a character who steamrollers through the plot like a freight train. What you mean? And so that became Constance. It was, if he's, instead of having a very efficient, quiet housekeeper, he has someone who is constantly, nearly killing him occasionally, and is just making his life difficult for the hell of it. And that's where we got the basic premise from, really. And we went from there. We used to do 2 episodes at a time. We did 3 recordings over about 6 months, I think. And yeah, that's how it came about. But they were live recordings. We used to do them in front of an audience back when such a thing was possible. And we used to stand basically in a line on stage, all with lecterns with the script on. The audience would be there, and we'd read them out. Stefan, who's hiding over there, would play in the sound effects, and we recorded them as live recordings. So I mean, they're great fun to listen back to. The audio quality, and we'll talk about that later, is a bit odd because they're recorded live and it was the first time we'd done it. But they're really fun to listen to because the audience had a great time, and so did we.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Alistair, the Inspector.
Explain yourself.
You've played the Inspector since the very first sketchbook show, and you've come back to do the sitcom now. So, what were your thoughts when you first heard about the series, and what is the appeal of playing Inspector Murder?
I mean, look, it was so unexpected and such a lovely creation to happen, this whole sort of spin-off series. And I kind of remember when I very first did the very first sketch, and we've been doing various sketches and different characters, and in this particular sketch I've been given the role of a detective turning up at a door. And I remember when I kind of read it and things, you can take it in different kind of ways, and perhaps on paper it kind of lent itself to being very much more of a film noir, trilby hat, cigarette smoking, sort of talking to the camera sort of detective. But there was just something about it that I kind of lent a little bit more. I thought, just perhaps a little this more bumbling Victorian Sherlock Holmes-esque type detective just kind of fitted that moment. And so one sort of tried it that way, and in a nice, lovely way, Gareth and everybody and Dario producing it all, they were happy with that. And so I guess that's kind of how that style came through. So to then learn that, you know, it would then evolve into a whole sort of series was, I mean, basically hats off to our writing team, because we have such a great talent there that they were able to create these adventures and to have a whole agency where we're all at this part of this little team working together and going on these haphazard adventures was actually just such a lovely, rich experience. And to be at the centre of that as the inspector, after having touched on it a while back, was just such a lovely sort of fruition. So, yeah.
And you kind of feel that you carried the kernel of that very, very first performance from the sketch show right the way through.
Yes. I mean, I think every time you do a character, there's always little bits from yourself that you draw upon it. And that's and also probably slightly bad and character flaws, personal flaws. But no, so yes, that kind of bumbling thing. It's sort of it's always a personal thing. It's very.
I think we would say endearing.
Many lawsuits later, but yes.
Now, moving on to a couple of other members of the cast, Joe and Emily. Over there. You also appeared in the original sketches and then have become regular cast members. So tell us about we've heard a little bit about Law and Order and Constance Surveillance. So tell us a bit about your characters and what was your reaction to reading the scripts for the first time?
It was really exciting. Like, when we were doing the sketches and this was my first foray into comedy or anything like that, apart from my one panto. And we did this, we did the very long one here, and I was like, oh, this is fun, this is chaos, there is puns, oh, someone has collected all my favourite things. It's very exciting, even if it took us forever to learn how to smother me in rope. But when I got Laura, I was like, oh my god, this is like a real honour, because she's such an incredible character. She's so strong and she's wonderful, and to know that something that I thought was really cool and I thought was really great and wonderful writing, wonderful characters, and something I was really passionate about was going further, and I could do it more. I didn't have to leave it behind. This wasn't something that we did it and then it went. It was something that was continuing, and there's that real excitement, because I'm not saying I never perform in anything I don't like, or I don't like anything I perform, but there's just something about Inspector Murder that just is.
Really
I just
fun.
feel so attached to it.
Yeah.
Probably because it has lots of the things I like personally anyway, and it's great.
What, like filthy jokes?
That take me 4 years to get.
I mean, there's something really, really magic when you find a character that you either feel personally an affinity with, and then you get to perform it, and then you get to perform it again, and it grows, and you kind of think, yeah.
I mean, like, Laura's everything I want to be. She's like an absolute badass. She's consistently clever, and she just is so solid. You're just like, oh, I want to be Laura, and I get to be Laura. It's great.
Yeah, I aspire to be Constance.
I think everyone aspires to be Constance a little.
Constance has got a lot of freedom, though.
Yeah,
a lot
she
of
gets to
freedom
say
of
what she likes.
expression.
When I first saw it, I just thought, whoa, this is a character that you can really let loose on, because there's no need to hold back. You can just really kind of take it to the top level and then up a notch. It's really fun to play. And she does. I think each episode, because part of what she does is to be shocking and to get laughs by just being absolutely horrifically behaved. It has to get a little bit more shocking. So it kind of builds. So each script, I just open it and go, what's she going to do now?
It is the thing that you want to look for when you first open the script. Is what the fuck has Constant done this time?
Do you get to the point where you read it and you go, oh my god, how the hell can they top that?
Oh! Yeah.
And some very excellent swear constructions in there that are very funny. Turns of phrase, this is lovely writing. It's really good fun.
And Constance has got some fantastic lines, but even also the puns of the names as well.
Yes.
That's one of the first things I always loved about that.
That's why she's Welsh, because we came up with the names first. We had a whole list. Some of them are in those sketches. Ali Bai is another one. I think comes up in a minute. And we came with Constant Surveillance. We thought she sounds vaguely Welsh. We'll make her Welsh.
Because you Welsh.
We're trying to work out, because obviously they're all ludicrous names. It was sort of in a vague attempt at making it have a logical sense. Maybe she's Welsh. Explains her name.
Massacring.
And this is one for sort of the original cast members: Alistair, Emily, Joe, Gareth, and Dario. So, from those original recordings back here when you all stood in a line and playing in front of the microphone, what were your memories, if you can remember that far back? What were they like?
Feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
It's so long since we did it.
I think for me, it was again a new format. I was doing everything very quickly. I'd gone from panto, I'd done my first comedy, and then we were doing podcast recordings, and I'm like, ah. But every time you went out there, you're there with your best friends. You're there with an audience that you know loves you. And you're also, you know what you're doing is so good, you know they're going to laugh. And there's always that great feeling where they laugh and you could be a bit more relaxed and you could laugh with them. And there's such a joy to be like, get that feedback. You can see them because you're all in a line at the front. There is no avoiding the fact they're laughing at you or with you. And yeah, because it'd be even things like times where you'd mess up. I accidentally called the inspector a prat instead of a prig. And in my head, I was going, because I'd done it in rehearsal, and I was going, don't say prat, don't say prat, prat. Oh.
No, it wasn't you. You called him a prick.
It was a prick.
Oh, prick!
It was the slightly more blunt. Funny enough, I was going to tell that story,
Sorry.
but no, it's great. No, it's
But
good.
you
It's
have
good.
to go back and redo the line because it's a recording. So if you make a mistake, you have to go back. And I was like, prig. And then the audience has clocked that I basically just called Alistair a prick.
Live, unadulterated, but it went down a treat, and it's even the moments which go wrong, as you say, it's hilarious.
That was an instance where being stood in a line sort of lent its own comedy because we all sort of stood there. And when you said that, everyone just sort of turned. And the audience had no idea why until you did it.
A few people nodded.
But it was also during those that one of the moments you realise that some lines you think are the best and some you think are funny, and there are some you're like, this is quite funny, and then the audience just roll with it. And there was one of my lines where I was like, oh, he just slipped something into my compartment, which is quite funny. And, you know, there's a little chuckle, but then there's someone in the audience who just started laughing. But it was like a low laugh, and then slowly the audience joined in. And it went on for a good minute, maybe 2 minutes.
Well, it was a minute and a half, I think, and then we cut it in the edit because it just made no sense. But the other reason it kept going, I think it was Eddie, one of our technicians, who was in there, who was finding it very amusing and good to have someone in the audience who thinks that. But then we all started going as well. And I think, again, it kind of went down the line. Led by Matt Doherty.
Yeah.
Snickering.
You couldn't look at him. You just had to do that.
There are photos where you can see people directly not looking at him because you know you're. And there's one where I'm like looking completely away because I'm like, I will completely corpse. I'll go because he's just chuckling in the background.
I mean, that presented one of the most bizarre editing problems I've ever seen.
It was the weirdest laugh we've ever got. It wasn't very big, but it went on for ages.
So it was quite a varied laugh. It went on its own journey, sort of going up in volume and intensity and then dipping down and going sort of all over the place. So you couldn't even just chop the middle out because if you did, you'd end up with a really obvious, intersection. So you had to kind of go, right, where does this laugh sound most like the end of this laugh? And what can I chop
Before it
out?
starts up again.
It was lovely though. It was a great moment.
They were good fun.
And I must admit, actually on everything, agree with everything everyone's saying, but it's the fact that it was that kind of new style of genre for a lot of us, that kind of BBC radio play type
script in
recording
hand, all that stuff.
in front of a live audience. That was a real pleasure to actually, in a whole professional capacity, be doing this different style of technique that you'd never get a chance to do anyway, or anywhere else. And so, very lucky from that point of view. And as kind of Dario mentioned, at that particular time, it was just a wonderful thing. We've been doing all the sketches with Unbound, and that's fabulous. But to have a recurring character and storyline where we're all diving back in together is fabulous. And we sadly lost our good friend Matthew, who played Luc Vaucluse originally. And I guess in the early days it was slightly a bit more sort of a bumbling butler, sort of bondsman type thing. And for us all to have shared those moments together and those memories was actually very special, considering we lost him.
And to have it recorded as well.
And to have it recorded. And then Andy has come in as Luke and taken it on in a brilliant way, and with all the kind of theatrical love things going on. So hats off to both of them. They played it beautifully and matched it up. But to have that special kind of memory type thing at that particular time was so important. I remember I did a little presentation for everybody, a little gift for the thing, and we at the end of the whole series we had a photo of all of us gathered. It's almost like one of those black and white photos you could get from history. Where
Not
everyone
that
stood in the corner.
I've not been doing it that long.
No, we weren't standing there that long posing, but it was like we're all gathered and a photo's been taken, and yeah, it's become a bit of a footnote in one of my history memories.
It's one you know you'll look back on.
Yeah.
Like I know, like if I get to be old, it'd be lovely. I know that's going to be one I'm going to look back and go, oh, that was great. Was that a great time? They're going to go, yes, Emily, dear. And I'm like, look what I did. Look what I was in.
Yeah. Trying to get all the nursing home stuff to listen to it. Listen
Yeah.
to it. It's on
Maybe.
SoundCloud.
It's what you were saying about being on the stage where you've got this. I mean, I love doing live readings like that, where when you've got the script and when you are in a line and you can share the joy with your other actors. I think I've the stuff that I've done when you're standing there. And you know either the funny bit's coming or something. You can kind of glance over, and you're in character performing the script, and you're also the actor and you as well, and you are genuinely enjoying other people's performances. And I love it when you're standing there, and if you haven't got anything to say for a while, and you're just watching two other actors do their craft, and it's such a joy. And I think when you're able to do that in front of a live audience as well, a live audience will pick up on that, and they will genuinely enjoy everyone's performance and you creating it as well. It's magic. I love
think
it.
if it's a podcast recording, then they sort of feel that they're kind of, the audience is sort of part of the cast because their reactions are recorded and it's all, it's all part of the thing, and we're interacting, and what they do affects what we do, and it's all sort of, it's great.
Good point, Constance. I
like
didn't
magic
believe she had
word.
intelligence there, blimey.
Now, during the middle of all of these original recordings, this was when the inspector returned for his last live performance for the third Unbound sketch show, which was Deploy the Emergency Sketchbook. And from that, our final sketch is one called Annotations.
Here we go. Inspector Murder and Luke Recluse enter with a witness. They sit at a table.
Right, for the benefit of the tape, my name is Inspector Murder and I'm inspecting the murder of Mr. Homer Side. Yeah, my able assistant Luke Recluse and I are now interrogating Miss Alibi over inconsistencies in her witness statement.
Sir, I forgot the tape.
What? Why didn't you tell me before I started speaking?
You've got such a lovely speaking voice, sir.
So, Miss Bye, I wish to ask you to explain in more detail where you were on the night Mr. Side was murdered. In particular, I'd like to know more about your movements after 10 p.m. when you say you were...
A YouTube-style annotation written on a cue card is poked through the side curtains. It reads, "For more Inspector Murder sketches, click here."
What's that?
Sally pokes her head through to the curtains.
It's only an annotation. Ignore that.
Annotation?
Yes, the Limelight Theatre uses them to let the audience know about other content which might be of interest to them. Helps retain the audience, advertise the content provider.
Irritate the fuck out of everyone.
You're under caution. Pipe down.
Just carry on regardless.
Another annotation is carried on. It reads, "Check out our latest podcast at www.queensparkarts.com. More and more annotations are carried on, filling the stage."
Don't worry, sir. I'll deal with it.
Luke runs around clicking the close button on each board.
Right. Very well. Now, Miss Bye, after 10 p.m, you say you were on your way to the Persephone Club when you were accosted by a man wearing a trilby hat and a long dark coat.
Harry enters with an annotation reading, "Design your own webpage with Site Spinner," holding it in front of the inspector's face.
Would you get that out of the way? I'm trying to interrogate a suspect.
Look, sir, we could create a website to advertise our detective agency.
Quiet for clues.
Oi! That is not one of the approved annotations.
Well, I don't care. I'm here to get the word out about a fantastic new website design service called Site Spinner, and come hell or high water, I am going to tell everyone about the easy-to-use design wizard.
Clues, arrest that man for obstruction.
Yes, sir.
Luke leads Harry away.
It has an expertly designed user interface that lets you choose from over 250 templates, each of them customizable by the...
Sorry about that.
Look, I'm not happy with all these pop-up thingies.
Not pop-ups, annotations. Completely different.
Can't I just carry out my investigation unhindered?
Stagehands begin changing the scenery.
What's that?
That's the start of the next sketch.
But I'm not done.
Sorry. That's the new autoplay function. Prevents dead air between sketches, which could lead to audience losing interest.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And there we left the Inspector way back in 2018. But he was eventually brought back in a slightly new form for 2020. So Dario, tell us a little bit about that and how you essentially sort of rebooted the franchise.
Yes,
We are to take over the world with it.
We're all listening.
yes, it is a reboot. So we did 6 of these episodes live as a podcast with an audience, and we decided that was it. It's a story. If you go back and listen to them, I won't spoil it. It has a very definite beginning, middle, and end. There's a storyline that unfolds and ends at the end of the episode. So we thought that's good. We've finished. We'll go. Hooray! It's always good to know you've finished a project and ended it well. And then it was like you were saying earlier. There's something about Inspector Murder. It doesn't really leave you alone. And then about now a year and a half later, we got to the end of 2019. I started thinking about all the characters again, and I thought there's situations they could be in. There's problems they'd have to come up against. There's horrific things Constance could be doing that we haven't done yet. So there was this idea, maybe go back to it, maybe have another go, and it was slightly convoluted because it ends in I'm not going to give away the ending. It ends in a very particular way, and I never wanted to undo that because it's the perfect way to say goodbye to those characters. So if we were going to do more, it had to be somewhere sort of halfway through the series. But it's a very odd thing to expect an audience 2-3 years later to say, we need you to go back and listen to this thing we did 3 years ago, then listen to this new thing, and then go back and find out how it ends. So it made sense on multiple levels to just start again and reboot it. And another of the reasons was that it was great doing it in front of an audience and we really enjoyed it, but our audio content had really moved on since then, particularly then COVID happened and we did things like The Professor and the Sonnets, and the audio quality of the live recordings is fine, they're listenable, but they're not studio quality, and so we thought, well, if we want to go back, let's do it so it sounds like the rest of our audio output. And again, it would be quite weird if you listen to 3 slightly dodgy recordings, then 6 really good ones. So again, we started changing it. And the other thing is, as Alice said, we didn't have Matt anymore. We tried to get him back. He wouldn't. His agent wouldn't let him come back. It demanded too much money, so we got rid of him. And again, it would be very weird to listen to half a series with one person playing a character and then find someone else and then go back to the original. So we decided we'll just start from scratch. And also, I think we went back to those scripts and realised when you start, you don't really work out what a series is till you've written a few of them. And actually, those early episodes of the live recordings are quite different. And the first episode doesn't really fit. Actually, it presupposes you know all the characters. It sort of starts in the middle of things. And actually, what you want episode 1 to do, especially if you're bringing it back, is to introduce the character. So that's where in the new version, the shiny new studio version, which is series 1 of the version 2.0. You get a sort of reprise of that first sketch with the inspector turning up to Inspector Murder, but now that becomes a whole plot line through the episode. And also, rather than Laura being there to begin with, it's her first day, which is perfect because you get to meet all the characters through her. So it was a chance to kind of go back, and it's almost like doing a second draft or something from the writing side of things. And again, it was just sort of, it could be a lot of fun to go back, and there was a lot of ideas, and if you've got ideas, do them. COVID then happened, which put things on the back burner. But then it worked out perfectly because we needed audio projects for when we came back. We had a recording studio, we couldn't be in front of an audience, so let's go back to Inspector Murder. And it was actually after the first lockdown, or however, first 2 lockdowns, I can't remember. It was a really nice thing to go back to. It was a very happy memory doing Inspector Murder, so it was great to come back and to have Andy coming on board as well, which was, I think, the biggest thing. And honestly, we wouldn't have done it if we couldn't have found someone who we felt would be respectful of what Matt had done, but also not try and copy what Matt had done and would fit in really well. And that was the hardest thing, I think. I know Alistair and Joe and Emily, it was the thing we were all a little bit unsure of. And the way we reasoned it out was years ago when we did Alice in Wonderland, Matt played the caterpillar, or the Matterpillar as he became known. And there was one show he couldn't do. He couldn't get out of work, so we had to get him an understudy. And Steve Davies said he'd come in and do one show only. And Steve is a amazing actor, a prolific career in acting, and really highly respected. And Matt spent the entire run going around going, see, when I get an understudy, I get the best. And he was so chuffed that it was Steve that he didn't mind not being there for a day. And I thought if I could find someone who he'd feel the same way about doing more, taking the character on, I felt that's fine. He wouldn't be pissed off. And so, I mean, it's guesswork because Andy never met Matt, sadly. But knowing Matt as I did, and for the years I did, I without a shadow of a doubt, he would have loved Andy. He would have really respected him, and he would have had a ball in his company. So it was only going to be Andy. It was if Andy said no, I think we probably wouldn't have done it. And so we thought, well, we've got Andy, and Andy took it on brilliantly, and we changed the character a bit, and away we went. So it's version 2.0. So you don't have to listen to the live ones if you don't want to. You can just start with series 1. But they're kind of fun, almost like a little curio. They're a fun little quirky thing we did.
It's like the pilot.
It is. It's the first draft.
Yeah.
It's what we tried to, and then we've kind of gone back to it and expanded it and made them bigger. And there are whole new episodes as well. So yeah, that's how we came back.
This just shows you how clever the writing team is.
They're not going to write you that monologue.
No, damn it.
You've already got your own series.
That's true. It's incredible how you tied it all in. It's brilliant.
But as Dario just introduced one of our new cast members, Andy, as Luke. So what was it like for you coming into this and taking on board the character and making Luke yours? And what were your thoughts about the script and
I have to say,
everything?
first of all, a massive honour for a start. I'm incredibly flattered to be asked, and also really quite daunting. So I know Matt was a very clever, talented chap and a very prolific sort of writer and thinker of things himself, wasn't he? He was a great user of the sketch show. So I was really quite. And what I absolutely most of all wanted to do was not take it and it was very much had to be very much something that he would approve of. It's actually not mine; it's his, and he. So I've very much tried to sort of make it in his spirit and his style, which is tricky. That's so true. I didn't meet him, but just taking the character as it's been written, which I do love. It's such a clever. It's a bit of a me kind of character. You do anything slightly vaguely, and round about that. That's kind of how I operate. So, but the thing I remember, my favourite ever part of I heard a couple of the old episodes. The steam-powered chicken.
Oh yes,
Which was invented, and the way Matt presented that in this completely, absolutely well, I've invented this amazing thing. It's a chicken, and it's made by steam, and it had its own backstory, and he had his own relationship with this creature, and you weren't to upset it or annoy it because it would boil over and it would cook its own egg.
It's my next tattoo. I've decided I want to get onto the steam-powered chicken.
Yes, I'm just loving it. I just adore that. I adore this kind of writing and this kind of comedy. It's very, very much my
It
thing.
was very deliberate, honestly, when we went back to it, knowing that you'd said yes to doing it, that half the first series of Studio Ones is the old episodes re-edited and updated, and then 3 are new. And there were lines of dialogue I remember going through thinking, it doesn't work anymore for Luke. I think we didn't want it to be... There's no point trying to replicate him. There's just no point. So it was kind of brilliant having worked with Andy a few times. We could then write it to him. And actually, Luke is a slightly different character now. When he was Matt, he was very Matt. He was slightly brusque. He could be quite rude to the inspector if he wanted. He calls you a tart at one point, which is what Matt used to call everybody. And then you sort of go back, actually, it doesn't work for Andy saying this thing. So actually, he is slightly different. And we gave him, I don't know why, but he's now a sort of musical theatre enthusiast.
Curious.
Where could that possibly come from?
I think it was kind of what is the most ludicrous thing for a really clever scientist who just happens to love musical theatre.
And might be writing a musical about...
He's writing a musical.
About shoe shiners.
That's the demon line.
But I have to say, kudos to Andy, because actually the character is entirely his own now, and that's the best way of doing it. It's not, I say, it's not the same. Matt's version is there, and you can go listen to it. It's very different. I think a very different Luke. But yeah, all kudos to Andy, because I think he's been fantastic. And
It's like getting a gift,
It is.
and then doing something with it and giving that gift back, and it just
Yeah.
kind of grows and develops.
Yeah, there are some
really.
parts that you
Yeah.
just are just delighted to
And now we kind
That's
of
one of them,
go
yeah.
on to new episodes, and it's kind of, and that's it now. It's these four together.
Yeah.
So it's you've done a sterling job.
No, well done, Benny.
And so how have the rest of you felt your own characters have tweaked or developed as they've gone on, as Constance gets more and more outrageous?
It's crazier every episode, just a little bit more mad.
Can you kind of see a development from like those earlier first sketches and then how they are now in the script?
It's interesting how little that Laura tolerates shit as it goes on. Like, like it's just like it's almost like Inspector opens his mouth and sometimes she just goes, oh. Like, I know what's happening now. I'm now fully in. But it's wonderful because it comes out of her affection for the Inspector.
Yeah, the
and
lovely thing is she's never mean to him. She's
No.
never sarcastic. She kind of allows him to be a complete idiot.
Yeah.
But never allows him to feel like an idiot. She's
No.
very defensive of it.
And it's become like the way she has an affection for him is because he is who he is, and she loves that as much as it surprises her every time, despite the fact she knows. Well, she knows he's going to say something dumb, but it's never quite right what she's expecting. But there's also that very much settled status that they all feel with each other, which you almost got a little bit from the beginning, that you felt like they were like, but just to feel that sort of grow, and that also grows in your confidence with your character as well, because I think it is great to do it again, because I think definitely my acting's got a lot better. So it's quite nice to do it again and be like, right, I think I've got it now. I think I've got Laura. Because at first I was like, ah! Like it was wonderful. It was such an honour, but I was like, do I deserve this? Do I deserve this? Do I deserve it? And then eventually I'm like, oh, I do. I love Laura. I deserve Laura. This is great. And you know, you feel so comfortable with the people you're doing it with, and you feel so comfortable, it helps you act with each other, and for Laura to sort of grow. And also, she gets to be the clever one all the time, so people get to tell me I'm clever. Which I love. Every episode someone goes, you're the clever one, and I'm like, ah.
I mean, what you were saying there, it's like it's a true ensemble piece. All of the characters and as actors as well, just like seeing you and listening to you work together, it's very, very much an ensemble piece. So as an ensemble, so we all know that actors can get up to little japes every now and then. But what are your sort of fond memories from those recording sessions, or anything that you can remember, or any theatrical anecdotes or tales that you can regale us with from those heady early days?
Early, that was only a few months ago.
That's very true. It's the other beyond.
It was before lockdown 3. Yeah.
Well, every time you go to Inspector Murder, it's just comforting. It's like if a script was soup. Like, you know, this is wonderful, and like you, just every time you go to it, you're like, oh, this is my safe space. Like, this is wonderful, and like, it's also, there's that playing with it, because you feel really comfortable and confident. You can be more playful with it, and it's great because generally people go, no, that is not how you say it, and you're like, okay, cool, try it this way. But then every time you try something new and you play with each other, it's so good to have that. It's almost great to be wrong sometimes, and they're like, no, try it like this, and I'm like, oh, that is genius.
But you can never tell Laura that.
Well, it's like sometimes I don't get half the jokes, and I have to be told how to say something.
For 4 years.
Do you know what? That is one of the lovely quirks. You know there's going to be a certain delay with some things, and it's just a joy when suddenly there's this, you couldn't, it's priceless timing. But
It was also really nice at the end of series 1 when what you were saying about kind of like feeling like the ensemble and feeling the safe space and all that kind of thing, because Inspector kind of turned out to be sort of really looking out for everybody, and although he's like the bumbling idiot, which is probably a much nicer way of saying it than Constance would.
I appreciate it.
I'm pretty sure she couldn't say anything nice about him at one point.
No, absolutely. But at the end of that series, he was the one that was sort of taking care of everybody in actually quite an intelligent way, a way that nobody had credited him with throughout the series with anything like that intelligence. So it was just a nice sort of, it's kind of like really loving kind of. It was a nice, warm feeling that you had at the end of it, I think.
And it was very because I was able to come in to those recording sessions. I think I played a couple of cameos, and then also for the Christmas special, which I adored. The scene that I was able to play with you always gave me tears in my eyes. But Steph as well, you came on board for those recordings as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you coming into this crazy family?
Well, that was my first introduction actually. I hadn't heard the characters or anything. I knew of them, but I hadn't listened or anything. So it was quite hard to, be recording live, and so you've got to be quiet, and then suddenly you're hearing Constance, and
which is enough for anyone.
and it was just so hard to try and keep quiet, but it was just so lovely to just be a part of it. I just loved the four main people in the team, and to just get to be a small part of it was just really lovely.
Yeah, and then when you pop in with your lines, and then you was like everyone's like bouncing back.
Yeah.
I think that's why. I mean, it does work so well. As I said, the writing team put it together so well, and to create all the atmosphere of all the backstories coming out. But you have all these lovely, rich moments with new characters coming in, and everybody who kind of joins in, and the kind of Inspector Murder family kind of keeps growing. I think that's what kind of drives it forward.
Yeah.
Each episode is quite exciting to see what's going to come and what's going to happen as you guys say. So yeah, I think
Even when you were talking about cameos, I mean, I came in, and I think for the Christmas special, I basically played a Dickensian messenger waif, or governor, I should be in Oliver.
Artful Dodger.
Yeah, basically the Artful Dodger. And when we did the script that we're going to be doing in a moment, you brought me back. You brought me back as my little cheeky chappy.
I think Watkins pops up in, I think there's 2 or 3 episodes he's in now. It's again
which
Baker
is
Street
great,
regulars.
because it's lovely when you get a message or something. It's like, we've got a little scene for Watkins here. And,
I have to say one thing is when we've been so lucky during the whole sort of lockdown sort of process to be able to do this kind of style of genre, and it's been so good for everyone coming together, I think, and just continuing it with the audio. But fair play, hats off to Stefan and the sound team as well, because as much as it looks incredible, the amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and poor Stefan, when we are checking sound levels, and we completely forget that there's somebody at the head of an MI5 operations headquarters base there, and whenever we're yelling or shrieking or whatever, you forget poor Stefan's probably had paid out fortune in doctor's fees for the ears. But
well, when we do the sound levels, everyone tends to read my opening little bit and have what you say said by every single person in the cast like 9 times. You're sort of like, and then you have to say it, and it's like, words, right? And we all have to say it at once at the same time, and it's very disconcerting.
So Gareth, you were also in part of those recording sessions as well as editing them, editing the audio as well afterwards. And so, any memories from you from sort of writing it with Dario, and then recording it, and then listening back to it as well?
Yeah, I mean, it is a just brilliant experience when you get that first moment to listen back to it and go through the editing process, because when you're live there and you're in the moment, it's really fun and it's great, but you somewhat lose the sense of it hanging together as a whole story. And when you're going back and editing, that's the first time when you sort of get that chance to hear it as a listener rather than hearing it as an actor, and that's always a great moment. And there's been some really fun things to edit, like I think episode 3 where you've got Waplington comes in and he's sort of swearing, and there's these animals
the circus,
and that was great fun to edit and go through and sort of put together. And just the way it sort of, you take it from just pure audio and turn it into this finished thing with all the sound effects, all of the music coming in and out. It just, it's a brilliant thing to be the first person who hears the sort of full version of it, as it were.
And somewhere you have a file of bloopers for blackmail purposes, or
Oh yes. No, you do also get to sort of hear. What's really interesting is the mic stays on probably slightly longer than
Toilet break
we're
time.
already acting, and you just get these bizarre conversations. I don't remember that happening.
Well, the first series of Inspector Murder Inspect is available to download on the Unbound Theatre SoundCloud, and you can also find it wherever you get your podcasts. And that brings us to the sort of grand finale of this evening, which is, we have a very, very special treat for you, which is a table read, if you like, of Series 2 of Inspector Murder Inspects, Episode 1, which features all of us here. And we shall be reading that for you now. And this is Inspector Murder Inspects, and it is called A Witness, and it's written by Dario Knight and Gareth Johnson.
So, scene 1, interior, the agency hallway, evening.
Memoirs of a Victorian Detective. During the early part of 1885, my time was divided between working alongside my friend and mentor Inspector Murder and undertaking private tuition with Detective Davies of Scotland Yard. It was shortly after completing a course in undercover surveillance that the truly life-changing events of the case of the covert assassin came to pass.
Laura arrives at the agency.
Evening, only me. How is it? What on earth?
Ah, Laura, welcome back. Did you enjoy the course?
I did. Luke, why is the agency covered in dust sheets?
We've had to call the decorator in. Constance made something of a mess in the kitchen yesterday morning.
Then why is the hallway being decorated?
It was quite a large mess. A large, fiery mess with 4 legs, big teeth and a meat cleaver stuck between its shoulder blades.
I thought we agreed she wasn't allowed to cook curried goat anymore. The RSPAC took out a court order.
You mean the RSPCA?
No, they formed a splinter group. RSPAC, the Royal Society for the Protection of Animals from Constance. Where is she now?
In the office, and she's got a surprise with her.
It's not that turkey surprise, is it? You were supposed to confiscate her baster after last time.
No fear. You'll like this one.
That's what she said to the turkey.
I've been waiting for you and the inspector to get home so I could show you both together. You won't believe it.
Where is the inspector? On a case?
Quite so. Shortly after you left for your training, a crime wave hit the street. The inspector's been on the trail of the culprit morning, noon and night. Take a look.
Luke opens the door to look outside.
He's been hiding all day. I bet you can't guess where.
He's behind that street lamp.
I see the surveillance course is already coming in handy.
Who is it he's after?
He's on the trail of a notorious neighbourhood cat burglar.
All right, you thieving little wretch. Right, time to bring you into the yard. Yeah. What have you got to say for yourself? You remorseless bastard. Wait, where are you going? Don't run off. I caught you fair and square. Good doggy. Whoa!
The inspector runs for his life.
Nearly had him that time, Inspector.
Luke, fetch the emergency sausages to distract the beast.
No can do, sir. You had them for your breakfast.
Oh, play some music to lull it to sleep.
Alas, my piccolo's at the menders.
Where's Constance's hunting rifle?
RSPAC. It's good to be home.
And the title music.
Unbound Theatre presents Inspector Murder Inspects by Dario Knight and Gareth Johnson. Series 2, Episode 1, A Witness.
Scene 2, inside the agency hallway. The inspector enters the agency.
Bad luck, Inspector. You'll get him next time.
I thought you said there'd been a crime wave.
Oh, there has.
One perpetrated by a cat.
We're not dealing with any commonplace moggy, Laura. That furry little schemer's nothing short of a terrorist.
It stole his favourite pair of Argyle socks off the washing line and then besmirched them.
You mark my words, I'll bring that feline felon to justice.
Have you tried tempting it with a saucer of milk?
That's brilliant. Luke, fetch me 2 pints of the white stuff and I'll stir to your saucepan. That little horror's got a rapacious appetite, but we'll lure it in.
Later, Inspector. I've got something to show you and Laura in the office first. It's a surprise.
Oh, no.
Not that sort of surprise.
Oh, good.
Come on, you won't believe your eyes.
Scene 3, inside the agency office. Luke enters with the Inspector and Laura.
Inspector, Laura, say hello to Constance and our special guest.
Borada.
Chris, all my little lambs.
Sweet Jesus, there's 2 of them. Summon a priest.
No, Inspector. This is Gladys. This is Gladys, Constance's sister.
It's nice to meet you both.
And you. Welcome to London.
Luke, why the blazes would you let another member of her family in here? Haven't we suffered enough?
No need to fret, Inspector. She's lovely. Nothing at all like Constance.
I heard that, labrat.
You never told us you had a sister, Constance.
It must have slipped my mind.
No, don't be so miserable. She's always been like this with family, haven't you, Connie? What's the matter?
You called her Connie.
Nobody ever calls her that.
They say the last man who did woke up with his left buttock missing.
Legend has it, she uses it to be a pincushion.
Of course, that could just be a buncombe.
You're all having me on. Grievous bodily harm? Our little Connie Cupcake? Never.
Cupcake!
Right, that's it. You've met Sergeant Softshaft and his mates, now sling your hook.
I'll do nothing of the sort.
The doorbell rings.
I'll get it. It might be the parts I've ordered for my latest experiment.
Luke exits.
So, Gladys, how long will you be staying in London?
Oh, just for a week or so. Connie's been ignoring all the letters I sent asking how she was getting on, so I'm here for a proper catch-up. But you mustn't worry. I'll sort myself out with a boarding house.
Too right. Piss off, sis.
Constance? Gladys, we'd be more than happy to put you up for as long as you like. Will you join us for dinner? You must have so many stories growing up in Wales with Connie Cupcake.
Watch yourself, Laura. The veins on her eyelids are starting to throb. You're playing with fire.
Luke returns.
He's through here. We've another visitor, Inspector. This young lady would like to speak to you.
I'm so sorry to bother you at this hour, Inspector, but I didn't know where else to go.
Oh, well, goodness, you mustn't worry about that. Please take a seat. Constance, make yourself useful and get some tea.
Are you sure you don't want me to do it?
I know how to make tea, you sycophantic nipple splat.
Yes. But Mum always said your tea wasn't as nice as mine, though, didn't she?
I'm surprised anyone could hear her with her nose rammed up so far up your sainted jacksie. Stay here.
Constance leaves, slamming the door.
I'd better keep an eye on her. They've only just finished scraping the entrails off the kitchen ceiling.
Luke exits.
Right. Now then, Miss.
Vaughan, Adelaide Vaughan.
How can we be of assistance?
I'm not sure I can say. I've been so frightened.
Oh, don't worry now, my love. You're safe now. These nice folks will fix whatever's troubling you. Here, have my hanky.
Thank you.
Do you think we could do a swap and send Constance back to Wales instead?
I'll start making inquiries. Now, Miss Vaughan, what is it that's troubling you?
Well, I work as a clerk in a post office just off the Crompton Road. A few days ago there was a break-in. You must have read about it in the newspaper.
Indeed. As I understand it, the criminals are still at large.
They didn't have whiskers and a furball problem, did they?
I just arrived to open up as they were running off. One of them was climbing through the broken window. I saw his face and then he saw mine.
Oh dear.
He had to run. The alarm had been sounded. I gave his description to the police, but then the threats started.
What threats?
Rocks being thrown through my window, carriages trying to run me down on the street, and I'm certain I'm being followed. He'll know I've reported him, and now he's trying to... Oh God, I'm sorry.
You've nothing to apologise for. Anyone in your situation would be distressed. Have you reported the attacks?
Oh, the police said there was nothing they could do just to be vigilant. But they still haven't caught him.
Don't worry, Gladys is right. You're safe with us. You must stay here tonight, and then we'll see how we can help in the police investigation. You can take the Oh.
Oh, it's all right, love. I'll find that boarding house. I'll just grab my things and make tracks.
No, Gladys, I insist. You must stay in my room. Yeah, I mean, I shan't have need of it, not with that conniving cat burglar still on the streets. Laura, why don't you show Miss Vaughan and Gladys up to their rooms, and I'll resume my hunt for our mewling malefactor.
Your what?
Best not to ask. It's what we call in the trade cat and mouse investigation. This way.
Laura exits with Gladys and Adelaide.
Fear not, Miss Vaughan. All will be well. You get a cat and mouse. Oh, of course. Oh, Luke, come quickly. I've got a plan.
Scene 4, interior agency guest room. Laura and Adelaide enter.
Here we are. As luck would have it, it seems to be about the only room not splattered in goat's blood.
Beg your pardon?
Nothing. The bed's all made up. I'm guessing you haven't got an overnight bag packed, so we'll sort you out with a toothbrush and a flannel.
Thank you. The last few days has been such a dreadful blur. I've not been able to put one foot in front of the other. I keep waiting for that man to turn up again.
I know it's easy for me to say, but you really mustn't worry. You can stay with us for as long as it takes. There's no harm that can come to you whilst you're here. Try and get a good night's sleep, and in the morning Luke and I can go with you to pick up whatever you need from home. The inspector knows officers at Scotland Yard. He'll find out everything he can about the robbery, and then we'll help them catch whoever's responsible. You have my word.
You really are kind. I felt so silly making such a fuss of it.
You were right to find help. It's what we're here for.
I've read all about you in the papers, of course. You fooled that smuggling ring at London Zoo last year. It must have been thrilling.
Oh, it was. And ironically, it had one of our lowest animal mortality rates.
And the Lord Buckshot murder? That was you as well, wasn't it?
Actually, according to the Times, it was solved by an unidentified freelance investigator associated with Inspector Murder. Heaven forbid they reveal a poor simple woman had figured it out.
Until all this robbery business, I'd always wondered what it might be like to do your job. It seems so interesting. Now I think I'd rather stick to being a clerk.
Oh, it's not always so dangerous, but it is interesting. In more ways than one. When we put your case to bed, I'd be happy to show you how we go about things.
Really? You let me tag along?
I'd like that very much.
Oi, girlie! Get down here!
It'd be nice to have someone rather more balanced to talk to for once. I best see what she wants. Make yourself at home. I have a spare nightdress you can borrow for tonight. I'll bring it in once I've dealt with Constance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Laura exits. Scene 5, interior agency office that evening.
Look, Connie, there's no need for this.
You made your bed, now you can piss yourself in it.
Laura enters.
What is it, Constance?
I need your help dealing with this snooty bitch.
Constance? She is your sister. I'm so sorry, Gladys.
Oh, don't worry, love. She's always had a filthy mouth.
Fucking well haven't.
There she is.
What do you need me for?
Gupshite here says she's better at singing than me.
And your objection is...
I've got the voice of a cocking angel, I have.
Nonsense. Everyone knows I'm the singer of the family.
Lies. I was the one they got to sing a solo in church.
They let you in a church.
They put her on at the end of the service to make sure people cleared off good and quick.
What's this got to do with me exactly?
We're having a sing-off. That'll prove who's got the best pipes. You can tinkle on the ivories, can't you?
But that's not...
Constance hands over some sheet music.
Just bang out this tune and we'll see who sings it best.
Gladys, fine by me, love.
Right, get playing.
The music begins.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Beat that, sis!
Might need a minute.
Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings,
Gladys, your voice,
It's like a cat shagging a cactus. Rubbish.
Oh, really, Connie?
Speaking of cats, where did the inspector get to?
Scene 6, outside the agency.
Inspector, I'm not usually one to question your methods, but are you sure this is going to work?
Oh, of course it will, Luke. Yeah, the plan is flawless. We lure the cat out into the open with a big tasty mouse as bait, and then, when it's close enough, we trap it.
But why do I have to be the mouse?
Because I haven't got time to run around hunting for a real one, and well, you had your own costume.
It's for the musical I'm writing between science projects.
Yeah, I thought that was about shoe shiners.
I've added a fantasy sequence. Titchy Jim the boot buffer eats too much cheddar before bedtime. He dreams of an entire chorus of clog dancing mice and joins them for the Act 1 finale. Nibble my cheese like you mean it.
Yes. Well, going back to the plan, you sit in this exact spot, looking all mousy and tasty and helpless. Then, when the pesky furball pounces, I'll activate the device to trap it.
About the device, sir. It looks a bit, well, convoluted.
Oh, nonsense, Luke. No, it could be simpler. Once the cat has been lured towards the bait, I start turning this oversized crank handle. The crank sets the wooden cog mechanism into motion, pulling back a spring-loaded paddle. When the paddle is released, it hurtles forward and slams into an old boot I've suspended from a nearby gas lamp. The boot swings up and kicks over the bucket on top of that rickety freestanding staircase. The cannonball inside the bucket rolls down the stairs and along a twisty bit of guttering, at the bottom of which is a metal pole with a stone carving of a hand fixed to the top of it. The ball jolts the hand, setting a second larger cannonball, sitting on a precarious platform just above the metal pole, into action. The ball drops off the platform, through a tin bath with a hole cut in the bottom of it, and onto a seesaw. At the other end of the seesaw is Mr. Baker from next door, who is standing ready in his bathing costume. He is then catapulted through the air and lands in a wooden trough filled with water. This dislodges a metal cage balanced on a 10-foot pole attached to the trough. The cage falls, lands on the floor, and traps our elusive Moggy. Aha! Now, what's so convoluted about that?
Couldn't I just pick the cat up when it comes near me, sir?
I suppose. I mean, well, shame to let Mr. Baker down, though. I mean, he's been wanting to show off that new bathing costume for weeks.
Do you think the stripes are too daring?
What was that?
It's the Moggy!
Get it off! Get it off!
That's it! Aha! We've caught the blighter! Sorry, Mr. Baker. Seems we won't be tossing you into a bucket after all.
Scene 7, inside the agency hallway the following morning. A gunshot.
Constance!
What? We don't live on a pissing farm. What's a cockerel doing here? Right, where's my breakfast whiskey?
There's a knock on the door.
There's someone at the door!
Another knock on the door.
Girlie! Science man!
She knocks again.
Oi, Inspector Merkin! Get the door!
Answer it yourself, Constance. You stood next to it.
Bossy bloody know-it-all. I'll show her.
She opens the door.
What do you want?
Oh, I've come to do the decorating.
You're not the one who was here yesterday.
Nah, he's had a nervous breakdown. They found him in the shop whispering, "Make her go away," over and over.
What a wimp. All I did was show him my party trick. You'd think he'd be impressed. There's not many that can crack a brick in half with just their
I'll
own...
make a start if that's okay.
Suit yourself. Come in.
He does, and Constance closes the door.
Stripping in the dining room's the first job, I think.
I tried that once, but they didn't like it. Unsightly my ass.
I mean, stripping the paint off the wainscoting.
Whatever. Just get on with it. It's through there.
There's another knock on the door.
Not another one.
She opens the door.
What?
She slams the door closed.
Now, where did I leave my hip flask?
Another knock.
What now?
She opens the door.
Hello, my dear. I'm Mrs. Simpkins. I live just over the road. I'm looking for my Fluffy.
Oh, you tried asking your husband?
No, he's not seen her for days.
Well, that's marriage for you.
I wondered if you might have spotted her.
No, not unless you were at the Crimson Club last Thursday.
But I've got a photograph. Perhaps you'll recognise her. She's white with a black smudge on her tail. Look.
Oh, it's a cat! Well, that's an anticlimax, so to speak.
If you see her, you will let me know, won't you?
Is there a reward?
Oh, I'd give anything to have her home again.
Deal.
She slams the door.
Who do I know with a moggy? That kid next door's got a rabbit. I could give its ears a trim and paint it the right colour.
There's another knock on the door.
Oh, cool your boots, Connie, I'll get it. Your flask's in the kitchen.
Perfect.
Constance exits and Gladys opens the door.
Good morning. What can we do for you?
Are we Jensen's courier service? I've got a delivery for Dr. Recluse or something.
Vercluse. He's down in the basement. Do you need a hand bringing it in?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right, you are. Ooh, it's a hefty one. This way.
Laura enters from upstairs.
Morning, Gladys.
Morning, love. Just helping with the delivery for Dr. Vercluse.
Bless you. That's very kind.
Have I missed something? I heard shouting.
That'll be the dawn chorus of the damned. Nothing to worry about. Did you sleep well?
Yes, thanks. First time in almost a week.
Come down and get some breakfast. I'm sure the inspector's already on the trail of whoever it was you saw robbing the post office.
Scene 8. Interior Luke's laboratory.
All right, you thieving little reprobate. I know what you've been up to. You may think you made us stand stuff, but you'll be a puddle by the time I'm through with you. Yeah, I want a full confession. So start squealing like a canary and singing like a pig. Yeah, take over, Luke. Yeah, I need a glass of water.
He moves away.
Listen, I know this is tough, really I do. But if you just give him something, he'll start going easy on you. We can stop all of this if you just admit you did it. What do you say? It's no good, sir. Even the good copper, bad copper act won't work on this one.
Damn. Oh, he's as cunning as a badger.
Are badgers cunning, sir?
Gladys and the courier enter.
Morning. This gentleman's got a crate for you, Doctor.
Ha! My new generator! Here, you're not from the manufacturers.
Nah, they said they was too busy to bring it themselves.
That's not like them. Still, at least it's here. Let's have a look.
He levers the crate open.
Ooh. Has it definitely got the modified fluctuator I requested?
And I didn't say.
Ah. But the valves have been lubricated, have they?
No idea.
Ah. We'll just have to hope it's in good working order.
Well, I'll leave you to it then. There's a stack of pots and pans needs washing up in the kitchen. Breakfast's on the table when you're ready, gentlemen.
Oh, Gladys, that is really is kind of you, but I mean, you're our guest.
No, it's no bother. I like to keep myself busy. Not like Connie, sitting around boozing all hours of the day and night.
Gladys exits.
Are we certain they're related, Luke?
Oh, one can only assume that when Constance was born, the apple didn't so much fall far from the tree as land in a passing wagon speaking hell for leather into the next county.
Right, well, if you're happy with this gizmo, I'll make a move.
Don't you need me to sign for it?
Oh, well, yeah, probably. I ain't got the paperwork, though. I'll check the cart.
Hey, you couldn't take the empty crate with you, could you?
Yeah, sure thing.
He leaves.
Slapdash lollygagger. I hope he's not damaged it.
No, what's this thing for anyhow?
You remember the lie detector I've been working on?
Yes.
Well, the power generator kept burning out, so I've ordered a new one. This little beauty should keep her running for hours.
A lie detector? Perfect! Oh, we can use it on that fiendish ne'er-do-well over there.
I told you to give him what he wanted, puss.
Wire it up, Luke. I'll teach the little git to steal my best pair of socks. Nobody befouls my footwear and gets away with it.
Apart from Constance.
Watkins enters.
Ah, Watkins.
Morning. Message for you, Inspector.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I'll cost you though.
Oh, how much?
Threepence.
I'll give you a halfpenny.
Fourpence.
A penny.
Sixpence.
Oh, bloody hell. All right, here you go.
Much obliged, Gov. Here's your message.
Watkins hands over the message.
Oh, damn it.
What's happened?
Oh, it's from Detective Davies. He says he's already paid Watkins and not to give him any payment.
See ya.
Oh.
Watkins runs off.
Is that all he had to say?
I sent a message last night asking for him to arrange witness protection for Adelaide. He says resources won't stretch to it, not even a guard on the door to keep watch while she's here. No matter, we'll just have to be alert.
Scene 9, interior, the agency dining room.
This is quite the spread.
Don't get too used to it. I expect this is Gladys's doing. This plate looks like mine. Was yours scrambled eggs?
Yes. Smells delicious.
The decorator enters.
Sorry to disturb. I'm here to make a start on the redecorating. Do you mind if I...
Be our guest.
Yeah, much obliged. Bit of a late start, I'm afraid. Seems half the tools the boss left behind yesterday have gone walkabout. Luckily, that housekeeper of yours had plenty to spare.
That was handy.
Wasn't it just?
Yeah, prices were a bit steep, but needs must when the devil drives.
And boy does she drive. Well, don't mind us. We might as well start. The inspector and Luke could be a while.
They sit down to eat and the decorator begins work.
So, have you always wanted to be a detective?
Ever since I was a girl. My father was a policeman. Not that there are many crimes to solve in a village. Most of his cases were chasing after the local lads who'd been caught scrumping.
He must have been proud of you working in the city.
What about you?
Oh, I've always dreamed of being a post office clerk ever since I saw my first envelope. I suppose I find the way people behave really fascinates me. I always want to know why they do what they do, what motivates them, what moves someone to break the law.
In my experience, it's either fear, anger or greed. Or in Constance's case, I suspect it might just be boredom.
Adelaide takes a sip from her glass.
Ugh!
What is it?
That's not water, it's turpentine.
What?
Oh, I wondered where that had gotten to.
Why the hell was it in a drinking glass?
Well, don't look at me. I thought someone had pinched it along with the tools.
Adelaide, are you okay?
I think so. I just need some proper water.
Here.
She pours her some water.
I'm sorry, miss. Truly, I would never...
Go and work in another room, will you?
Yes, of course. I really am sorry.
It's fine.
The decorator leaves.
It is not fine. You could have been poisoned.
Laura?
I need to speak to the inspector. Stay here and lock the door behind me. Don't open it unless the inspector, Luke, Gladys or I ask you to.
What about Constance?
There's a tranquilizer dart and a blowpipe in the bureau. It won't knock her out, but it will slow her down. Don't worry. I'll be back in a minute.
She exits. Scene 10, interior, Luke's laboratory.
One final adjustment to the power linkage and it's connected.
Excellent work, Luke. Yeah, now, let's see what Puss in Boots really knows about my missing socks.
Oh, not so fast, Inspector. It needs at least 5 minutes to calibrate before it can be used.
Oh, but I want to play with it now.
Constance enters.
Oi, Inspector Testy Tickler. I want words with you.
Oh, what's the matter?
Goody Two-Shoes Gladys has done the washing up.
Oh, how kind of her.
That's my job.
You hate doing the washing up.
She hasn't done it properly. She's used soap and water.
That's what you're meant to do.
No. Every time I wash your knife, fork and plate, I scrape the food off and then coat them with a thin layer of laxative. They're not supposed to be clean. They're meant to make you cack yourself. She's spoiling my fun.
Laura enters.
Inspector, I need to speak to you. Something dreadful's happened.
Oh, don't worry, Petal. I'm still lacing his coffee with them. It's not a total write-off.
Someone's tried to poison Adelaide.
What?
There was paint stripper in a glass left on the dining room table. She nearly swallowed it.
Good grief. The robber chap she saw really means business.
Yes, quite a formidable mind. He's cunning, all right. Yeah, cunning like a dormouse.
Ah, dormice cunning.
It's got to be the decorator. Who is he? Where did we find him?
Well, I saw the company's advert in the newspaper, but hang on. We employed him before Adelaide arrived.
Yeah, but the bloke here today ain't the one who was here yesterday. Says he cried off ill.
What was that? What if that was a lie?
Of course, the rotter who's after Miss Vaughan could have followed here last night.
Then seen the decorator on the way in, stopped him, knocked him out and taken his place.
Yeah, but Miss Vaughan saw the man who robbed the bank. I mean, she'd have recognised him if he was posing as the decorator.
Then maybe the man upstairs is an accomplice. We know there was more than one robber involved. They must be helping cover each other's tracks. We need to question him.
My lie detector's nearly ready. Just in time.
You don't need that claptrap to get the truth out of someone. Give me a locked room, a wicker chair and some sandpaper. I'll have him screaming.
You mean you'll have him talking?
Depends. Would you be having a polite chit-chat while someone was making wood shavings out of your bollocks?
A crash and a thud.
Oh, what the...
Upstairs. Something's wrong.
Quick!
They run for the stairs into scene 11, the agency hallway.
There's no bugger here. Someone's knackered the sideboard, though. Who's going to clear this lot up?
If only I had a housekeeper to do it.
Why is the empty packing crate still lying around? Honestly, you can't get the couriers these days.
It's not empty. Adelaide's inside.
Oh, good grief. Is she all right?
She's breathing. I think she's been knocked out.
Gladys enters from the kitchen.
What's all this ruckus? We heard the commotion from the kitchen.
Gladys, where's the decorator?
No idea, my love. I've been finishing the washing up.
Cooking, more like.
She's coming round. Don't move too quickly. You could be concussed.
There was a knock on the door. I couldn't see anyone. I came to find you, but he jumped me. Started to strangle me. I kicked over the sideboard to try and warn you. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Of course not. We'll bill you for it when you're all better.
What if the attacker's still here?
Oh, you check the rooms upstairs. I'll cover down here.
Right you are, sir.
Luke runs upstairs.
Laura, take Adelaide to Scotland Yard and ask for Detective Davies.
I'll get the door. Oh,
What?
the knob's missing.
No, he's not. He's right here.
Thank you, Constance.
Looks like someone's ripped it off the door.
He's trying to keep us inside. We'll use the window.
Good idea.
The window rattles.
It won't budge.
Not with your piddly biceps, it won't. Give it
The
here.
window rattles again.
Buddha's bull bag. She's right. It's been painted shut.
Cunning woodpecker.
Are woodpeckers cunning?
Luke returns.
No sign of it up there, sir.
The decorator enters from another room.
Hello, what's this then? Headed out, are you?
Get him!
I'll do it.
She punches him.
Ow!
That's not how you knock someone out, you pansy. Straight in the arm. Follow through.
She hits him and he falls down.
Now, if you get me a rolling pin and a coat hanger, I'll show you how to make sure he won't get up again.
God, look, Constance, take him down to the lab. We'll use the lie detector on him. Laura, make sure Adelaide's all right. Oh, Gladys, see if you can't get a window or a door open.
Scene 12, interior, Luke's laboratory.
Oh, where am I?
He's awake, Inspector.
Why can't I move?
Because we tied you to a chair, boyo. And now we can do whatever we like with you.
Get her away from me! What are these things on my wrists?
Those are measuring your heart rate. They're linked to this rather nifty invention of mine. It works out if you're telling naughty porkies.
Oh, I don't understand.
Oh, well, tell us the truth. Now, why did you attack Miss Vaughan?
What are you on about?
Oh, don't try the old cat's got my tongue routine. You keep quiet. It's your turn next. Right. Now, come on, Sunshine. Why did you try to kill Miss Vaughan?
I didn't.
The machine beeps.
Truth.
Well, that, or he's a good liar.
Where's the real decorator?
I am the real decorator.
It beeps again.
Why paint the windows closed?
Well, I'm not a very good decorator.
Another beep.
Where's the knob?
I told you, he's right here.
It was an accident. I was moving a ladder and knocked it off. I was fetching the tools to fix it, I promise.
The machine beeps again.
All true.
What if this hunker-junk's on the fritz?
How dare you, madam? Since when has one of my inventions ever been known to Actually, she does have a point.
Let's take these cuffs off him.
He removes the handcuffs
Thank you.
Here we go.
and places them on someone else.
Oi, what's your game?
Now we'll see if it really can detect a lie. Constance, are you secretly jealous of Sister Gladys?
No.
The machine explodes.
Yes, needs more work, I fear. In the meantime, it would seem the decorator is innocent.
Well, I told you.
So who attacked Miss Vaughan and put her in the packing crate? Hold on.
The crate?
You said the courier wasn't the one you were expecting.
No. They usually send a technician from the factory to help test the components.
So he's the imposter.
And he could still be upstairs.
We must warn Laura and Miss Vaughan.
The inspector and Luke run for the stairs.
Could you let me go now?
Depends, Petal. How much cash you got on you?
Scene 14, exterior, the agency rooftop. The wind is blowing through the chimney tops.
It's not often you get to see the city from this angle, is it?
Come on, we'll climb down the drain pipe and head for Scotland Yard.
Oh, I feel so terrible. I've brought a maniac into your house.
You're one Welsh woman too late. And stop apologising, Adelaide. I promised I'd look after you, and I will. For as long as you need me to.
Laura?
We mustn't delay. Are you all right with heights?
Yes. Mind you, if we're running all the way to Scotland Yard, I'd wish I'd had a bigger breakfast.
Yeah, I know what you mean, even if it was... Oh.
What is it?
I've been an idiot. It wasn't the decorator.
What do you mean?
Breakfast was ready on the table, including the paint stripper and the glass. It was all laid out before we arrived. How could the decorator know where you'd be sitting?
I see what you mean, but if it wasn't him...
It was whoever laid the table. Oh, no.
All right, my little doves.
Gladys?
Adelaide, stay back.
Connie said you were the smart one. Flower. Got it all figured out then.
You were the attacker we heard.
Oh, a bit of bad luck there. Nearly had her knocked out when she sent the sideboard flying. Had to scarp her back to the kitchen before you lot appeared.
So you could pretend you heard the noise.
But she's not the one I saw robbing the bank.
Robbery's not my style, love. But knocking out the odd witness and flogging them on to whoever wants them silenced, well, there's money to be had there. And if you can't get a live one, then a corpse does just as well. Or even a name and address so they can do the job themselves. I'm famous for it. In certain circles, of course.
But you arrived before Adelaide. How could you know she'd be here?
Oh, I wasn't here for her. She just came along at the right time. Connie might not have replied to my letters, but I saw her name in the paper after that London Zoo business right enough. My sister working for a detective? Jackpot. All I had to do was to pretend to pay my beloved sibling a visit, then nick all the paperwork I could find. Handy to have a relative in law enforcement if you're in the business of blackmail.
And selling people.
Couldn't believe my luck when you came blubbing into the place the same day I did. Wouldn't take me long to find the robber who's after you and name my price for handing you over. Or getting rid of you.
She pulls out a gun.
Come on, Petal. Time to go.
Adelaide, get behind me. You're not coming anywhere near her, you monster.
Oh, come off it, love. I keep telling you, I'm the best our family's got to offer. You think all those piddling little crimes Connie gets up to are bad? You've seen nothing.
Is that a fact?
Constance!
Oh, piss off, Connie, love. Can't you see I'm busy?
Oh, don't mind me. I'm always up here when I need a break. Best bit of the entire gaff, the roof. Want to know why?
Why's that then, Cupcake?
Only place big enough to swing a cat.
Is that
The perfect weapon. Cheerio, Gladys.
She swings the cat around her head. Thwack! She crashes to the floor below.
Oh my God, have you killed her?
No idea.
No, look, she's landed in the courier's cart.
Oi! What are you doing in there?
Swinging a cat? I could swing a lion, me.
You up there, I just nipped off for a cuppa. I've come back for the crate, but the door won't open.
I'll go and sort him out.
Constance,
What?
thank you.
Meh. I've been wanting to deck that miserable cow for years. My pleasure.
Constance goes back inside.
Well, at least that's over. We should...
A gunshot hits a nearby masonry.
Oh my God!
The robber, he found you after all. Quick, get inside. You're not leaving this house until he's in a cell.
They run for the door, but there's another gunshot.
Get in. Wait, I think I can see him on the roof over the road. He's reloading his gun.
Quickly, he'll kill you.
Tall, long beard, some sort of scar on his left cheek. Is that the one you saw?
No, he was fair-haired. Look, it doesn't matter. It must be one of the others.
A third gunshot.
Laura!
I'm coming. Well, at least now we've got a description to give the police. A man who's one peg leg and a parrot away from being a pirate.
They run inside and close the door. Scene 15. Interior Agency Office 2 weeks later. A fire crackles in the grate.
I hope you're both hungry. Constance appears to be whipping up quite the feast in the kitchen.
Oh, she's allowed to cook again then?
Well, it's been 2 weeks since the goat fiasco, and the decorating's all finished at last. Plus, she seems to be in a rather more balanced mood since Gladys got locked up.
I should have realised it was her who planted the paint stripper straight away. It was obvious. I feel like such a fool.
Perhaps you were a little distracted at the time.
Yes, I think I was.
The inspector enters.
Evening all. Just picked up a paper. And there's some good news on the front page. The villains who robbed Miss Vaughan's post office have been caught.
Excellent.
That's a relief.
Thank heavens.
Seems a fellow named Blakely was the ringleader. Yeah, I've not read up on the details yet. Let's see.
He opens the newspaper.
Oh, hang the details. They can go on the fire for all I care.
She takes the paper and throws it on the fire.
Thank you, Inspector.
She kisses him on the cheek.
Oh. Well, yes. Well, I can't really take the credit, but I'm not complaining.
I suppose this means you're free to go whenever you like, wherever you please now, Miss Vaughan.
Yes, I suppose it does.
Not too far, I hope.
Indeed, yeah. I get the impression the two of you have become rather close companions over the last 2 weeks, and a rather fine pair you make too, if I might add.
Well,
I mean, Miss Vaughan mentioned being curious about our work, and well, with the discreet fee Detective Davies arranged after I handed Gladys into his custody, I think the agency finances would stretch to hiring an assistant to aid us on a case or two. But part-time, of course.
Inspector.
Really? You mean it? I can stay?
Oh, it would be my pleasure.
Oh, Inspector, thank you.
There's a knock at the door.
I'll get it.
He exits.
I can't wait to start work. I don't believe it.
Well, let's hope our next case isn't quite so close to home.
Oh, well, I'm confident the two of you will make the perfect partnership. I mean, professional partners. No, not to imply that, obviously I've never suggested.
Stop now.
Okay.
Still, it's a pleasure to be working with you, partner.
I'm sure we'll make quite the couple.
Luke returns.
Inspector, this is Mrs. Simpkins from over the road. She's come to inquire about her missing cat.
Mr. Baker said he saw you abducting my poor Fluffy and bringing her in here.
Bloody snitch! And his flashy swimwear. Well, I can assure you, Mrs. Simpkins, that Fluffy is safe and well. He's had a little accident on the roof, but we've been nursing her back to health.
Constance enters.
Right, grubs up. Who fancies a kitten fritter?
She falls on the floor.
Does that happen a lot around here?
Welcome to the team.
End of episode.
So that was episode 1 of series 2. So Dario, without too many spoilers, what can you entice us with for the rest of season 2?
Well, it's nearly finished being written, so we're on to episode 6. So, what can I tell you? Episode 2 is we find out what happens when Luke invents a genuinely brilliant invention and goes on his own little escapade.
Hey.
Episode 3 is what happens when someone kidnaps Constance.
Brave.
Doesn't end well. Episode 4 is more of a kind of a gang show. They go on holiday together, and Luke gets to indulge in his passion for musical theatre at last. So we finally get to hear that. Episode 5 is about the inspector going on the hunt for a blackmailer. And episode 6 is top secret. There is a plot afoot, and obviously Adelaide is in the rest of the series, so we have a new main character.
Welcome.
Hooray. So from all of the episodes that have been released so far, who's got a favourite story plot moment?
I loved it when Constance was off her tits.
I was just going to say
On the
that was my
train.
favourite, being
It's
off
just-
my tits on the train. But I also loved when Luke and Laura were stuck in a vault.
In the
with-
vault.
Oh.
with
Yes.
Luke's nipples, Keith and Geraldine.
Yeah.
That
If
was
you're listening
very
to the
fun.
new versions, that hasn't happened yet. That's from the old live shows, but it will pop up again, I'm sure,
Okay.
so to speak.
There's so many sort of wonderful, clever, and endearing moments. You know, with every character. I mean, the way it's written, with all the backstories all piling in, and from a personal point of view, I mean, you know, you've got Luke and his theatrical and his gadgets, and there's the constant ongoing battling with Constance that is constant battling, which is God, this is happening
Gareth and
really.
Dario are
Which is it was just brilliant, you know, his part nemesis, and then obviously Laura endearingly keeps everyone on track and sane. But yeah, with the Inspector, there was a couple of lovely little tweaks that I saw that was written in, like characteristics where he accidentally misinterprets paintings for windows.
Oh, yes.
Which is a little favourite of
my
mine.
husband.
And the fact that there's always like a cataclysmic fall normally that the inspector goes under, or some
Fly on
accident
the
with an
roof or
animal
something, yeah.
attack, or in each episode. That was really nice. But there's two things, if I might add to that, that are very specific. And there was and you touched on it earlier, Erica. There was such a lovely, heartfelt moment. Very lucky that you guys wrote that in. That the inspector comes across this cute little girl, and you played her so cutely amongst your myriad of other characters, and he gets mistaken for Father Christmas. And I've got to say that was a really special moment, and so nice. I think there's also a slight callback to it at another time, but obviously I can't talk too much about that because I think that probably hasn't come out. But
No, it has. It was,
No,
it was a Christmas special.
yeah,
We released
okay,
it now.
it's out. It's out.
He comes back as
And that was such a really special moment. So to all of them throughout, you know, with all the characters coming in, with the richness, with all the hilarities that each character brings. But as Constance says, as much as I don't really want to admit it or agree, probably one of the favourite episodes is the number 2 with the rollicking train hazard and misadventure.
Luke losing his hearing when he's like,
that was so good.
I don't think that's the right time, but it's just the fact you'd be going along and I'd be like, okay, so I'll go this way and you go that way. And because he hasn't heard me, he's like, okay, so you go this way and I'll go that way. And it's just like, okay, fine. And it just, the way it sort of went along, that was just such a clever thing. And you're like, oh my God, I'd never be able to think of something that clever.
And the answer was always 11:30 or something. It was
Quarter to 12 now, sir.
That's it, brilliant. And I mean that one is an epic, you know, and obviously the train and the inspector go their separate ways, not in the best of terms, but
You didn't fall off anything in this one.
no.
Oh, wait for episode 2. There's a absolute,
Catch up.
yeah.
I got attacked in this one, so and that was good enough. So
It was when we read that through for the first time, and I said, "There's a scene on top of a rooftop." Alice went, "Oh, here we go."
We were waiting for when
yeah,
Aha, it wasn't him.
that's it. So very special.
Steph, Gareth, Andy, any of us?
One of my favourite, I've not as much experience with it as you guys, but one of my favourite ones was when they all went to the theatre and the theatre caught fire, and upon examination of the sort of backstory, that every single theatre that has ever burnt down has a relative of Constance's. He was the fire officer, and they went literally all the way back to the beginning of the 17th century. For sort of that, you know, the theatre royal. Oh, that was my uncle. He was the fire officer. Everything Constance touches either gets killed or destroyed in some way. She's just the most magnificent creation. I love
She's
it.
got a grand family.
Yeah.
It's not a
Lots of
particular.
relatives. Lots of relatives.
Lots of
I hope.
relatives, yeah. It's not a particular moment, but one of the things you discover when you're writing, I love about Constance, is that she doesn't appear to know any of their names. She never sort of calls him Science Man and Girly and a manner of different things. Over the years. But it's like the fact that she doesn't really know who they are.
That was brilliant.
Steph or Gareth, any sort of memories or anything?
I mean, I hate to come in for episode 2 as well. But I think that, the main character I played in that, Freddie Beresford, is sort of so over the top that you can really sort of lend yourself into just this horrendously oblivious posh person who's drifting through life, wasting money all over the place, and just really push that character. So that was great fun to play. Really enjoyed that. I mean, I love playing all the characters I play in this. They're all sort of really, really great to do.
Gareth did a great reaction. He gets zapped in the ghoulies. The sound effects were very, very good.
Oh, because I also did it on You When You Were Wraith as well, with the pliers.
Oh, I'm probably doing that next time. Yeah.
I loved that bit.
Steph, any thoughts?
I think my favourite moments, a bit of a personal one, is in episode 3, I think, is when Molly was in. And so it was just really nice that I got to have these little moments with the inspector. Like, we had a really nice scene, and I was like, it's not a window, it's an oil painting. And then I got to have a little interaction with Laura. Entertaining in his rooms. And just those little moments. Obviously, this is my favourite episode, the one we just done, because I get to join the team and join in the adventures. So I'm really excited.
No, welcome. That's good.
And Dario, any other sort of moments or anything?
The favourite, I think, of all the ones we've done so far is the ones that are out is the Christmas episode. Because I've always wanted to write a Christmas story. It's fine, because we're always doing panto. You never get to do anything that's Christmas related that isn't panto. So it was really nice to do, and it's nice because I think it's got some of the funniest stuff. I mean, genuinely, to this day, I laugh at it's where you're pretending to be the inspector's ballroom dancing partner, Edith. And Andy's voice cracks me up every time. And Constance gets to sing Silent Night, which was glorious, and has a sort of tirade against the inspector, which was so difficult to write. trying to top her swearing is really difficult every time. And it's quite sweet as well. I think it's and Alistair, the scene. It is a scene when you go back to Fran, the little girl who thinks that you're Father Christmas. And he kind of gets to explain himself. It was something we didn't really do in the original live version, was a lot of character development. It was a big, fun story that then turns a little bit dark at the end. And it was just very sweet to give him a moment where he's not falling off something or being, a bit misguided or a bit blunt about things, running into danger without thinking about it. And he gets to sort of explain who he is. And it's really sweet. And Alistair did it perfectly. And I think it's the line he says, "I hope I'm a light in the dark." And it's a really lovely way of how he for all his blundering and for all of his bravado, he really cares. So that was lovely. There's some, if I say to myself, there's some good ones from series 2. Watch out for the hot air balloon.
There you have it. We've got to keep listening now and finding out what happens with the hot air balloon. So thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. As I say, you can find out all the episodes of Inspector Murder on SoundCloud, and look forward to Series 2 coming. Do we have an ETAs?
It'll be the autumn, we'll record it in the summer. It'll be out at some point in the autumn.
That's when it will be, so we'll be recording that at some point over the
sometime soon.
And everything. So if you would like any more information, you can follow us at www.unbound theatre. It's a good job I don't speak for anything. unboundtheatre.co.uk. You can also visit www.queensparkarts.com. Brand new website. Everything is there. They hope to be opening their doors
May 17th, all being well.
Indeed. And so you can see all the workshops and everything there. Do follow us, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think and get in touch. It would be lovely to hear from you all. So thank you very much for watching. It is only now for me to say goodnight, and thank you very much. I'm just going to go round from where I'm sitting, my point of view from over here. So thank you very much to Alistair.
Thank you.
Good night. To Stephanie, Mr. Dario, Andy, Emily, Joe, Gareth,
and Erica.
And me. Bye-bye.
Bye.